case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barreiro's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
Well, it's that time again. A little late, but better late than never, I will add. If you feel like this is a Spread Your Wings edition of Top 5 at 5 and you'll feel that you have been suppressed, given it's already 7 after 5, we can extend because Kessler's not till 5:30. So, I'll be glad to give you parts of 2 segments so that you can really, truly spread your wings.
If you want, I can oblige.
Okay, fair enough.
But we'll start here.
Time now for the obligatory Kevin Fallness Minnesota Wild mention.
Yeah, they split the road trip. They win in Toronto. They lose in Montreal. Cole Caulfield, I don't know if you saw the tweet, but he was one of the snubs that many people thought should be on this Team USA squad. He scores the game winner, and the Canadians immediately tweet at USA Hockey because it's against Bill Guerin and the Minnesota Wild. So you hate to see that.
Yeah.
I pretty much echo everything Louis said. For the vast majority, I thought they did look tired. They tried to come back, but that first period, even the score was close the entire game. It's a 1-goal game, but it still felt like they were fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah.
And when you have all these injuries, I don't want to excuse-o-meter for the Wild.
I get it.
But it is
part of the story
of
right
top
now.
guys that are gone.
Yeah, there's no question. And that's why we said, that's whatever it is, whatever the concoction is that has contributed to this team having as many injuries as it does. Bad luck. I don't think it's soft players. Whatever it might be, whatever you want to attribute it to, I really think that's the biggest question moving forward, even after the extended break, is whether they can get to a point where they have most of their good people. And I'm 100% with Louis that for now you err on the side of double caution to give several important players the best chance to get whatever they have, whatever's ailing them, behind them, because I think we've all been encouraged by what took place before the deal, after the big trade, but for much of the time. But we're not going to really, I think, get an honest assessment of what the group is capable of doing, whether or not they make another deal, if they just can't get more people healthy.
Wild Weekly for more Wild coverage tonight right here on the Fan. You'll hear that at 7 o'clock. Kevin Fallness, Tenabe, I think Pat Micheletti in the mix as well. So Wild Weekly, if you want more hockey talk, well, we've got you covered, obviously, with Luigi.
Absolutely.
Well, go basketball. The Wolves, I mentioned it yesterday. It felt like in Utah, that's a 15-29 record, Utah Jazz Club, and they come out and they lose. I get short term, you can look at records against under 500 teams, and which
has been better this year.
It has been
15-4.
But just the history of the club in the past 5 years this has been a theme of just teams that you should beat and have no excuse to not beat. You come out and you don't do it. So is that justified in thinking that way, or is it more, well, in the short term it's good, so who cares if they drop this one game?
Well, here's what's interesting about all of this. One of the subjects I explored, I think it was last week, was what would happen on a station like this if we decided to not react extensively at all, even comment on any regular season hockey, regular season basketball, and even regular season baseball. Because there are days where I go, how do you calibrate this? How do you know when to properly what's a proper reaction to a surge or to a loss like last night? Because you could drive yourself crazy thinking that the sky is falling. What I will say is there are losses that feel like more than a single loss. Last night was one of those. Even with the good record, better record this year against bad teams, Utah is beyond awful. Lauri Markkanen, the straw that serves the drink for that team, did not play. And it was interesting to read Johnny, because I have felt this way for a while. Whether they are winning some games that shock you or losing some games that annoy you, I think it's just beyond dispute that they have to add a piece. Now, you could say, well, what piece, Dan? Do you want a backup? Do you need another, active shot blocker or defensive presence with Rudy out? Well, I think with the kid, the Frenchman, understudy, we might have that. We're seeing some positive signs, even though he only played a few minutes the other day or yesterday. Do they need another point guard? Well, I think in a perfect world, the answer is they need another option. But if I'm ranking, at the top of my list is they have to add scoring off the bench. If they're going to give this group the best chance to get as far as they did, even as far as they did last year, or make another run, it's undeniable. Now, maybe it's two birds with one stone. Maybe that player also is a point guard, a scoring point guard, because there are a few that are going to be, it appears, on the market. But this is not complicated. If your bench a year ago included Dante DiVincenzo and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and now neither of them is available on the bench. Dante because he's a starter, Nickeil because he's dominating and flourishing in Atlanta. If none of the young guys that we were all projecting as maybe being ready to make a jump can't or won't, then your obligation, I think, if you're Tim Conley, is to add a piece. I don't think it has to necessarily be a star, but you have to add some scoring off the bench. If that player happens to be a point guard too, a scoring point guard, all the better. We're going to examine a lot more of this tomorrow because Guardsy and I will be doing the show tomorrow night from the Cage, Target Center. Wolves will be hosting the Chicago Bulls, if I'm not mistaken. We've got several outstanding guests planned as well from the Cage. So it definitely felt bad. There's a lot of Finchy ripping going on about the combination of players he used early in the fourth, I believe, when Utah kind of got back in the game. And we can argue about that, and I may not disagree with that, but I'm just saying you got to add a piece. You're going to have to add somebody who can get you a bucket. In an ideal world, he's a point guard. In an even more ideal world, he's a two-way player. Now, that might be too much to get, but to me, that's basically where we're at. Let's do this. Let's do bonus bucks, and then we'll come back and give you some more time for part two.
The Fan wants to give you a shot to win those bonus bucks in the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com. The keyword is bonus for this hour. KFAN.com, keyword bonus.
We'll continue the top 5 at 5 next.
The Fan. Just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barreiro's top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
Never hurts to give a fine sponsor a double dip as well. We always appreciate their support. Part 2 of the top 5 at 5 with Blakemore. Don't forget, Kessler is scheduled for the bottom of the hour.
And to recap as well, Wild and Wolves tomorrow in action. Wild heard on the Fan. They'll be taking on Detroit. That's at 8:30. Wolves on the Timberwolves channel, iHeartRadio app. You'll be there in the Cage tomorrow with Guardsy. That's a 7 o'clock tip. We'll go to another puzzling thing that happened. This Bills press conference that keeps coming up.
Yeah.
Where the owner, again, not to do the whole Green Bay, oh, thank God we don't have owners and I've got my piece of paper, but you do not deal with things like this, where an owner just says, I was in the locker room and I thought we'd have nowhere to go, so I fired him. And that's that. Or, God forbid, Jerry Jones. But apparently Josh Allen's all up in arms about this, and just the weird tone of it all. It's fascinating how this has gone down.
It is fascinating because I was unaware of it until Seifert brought it to my attention. I had not seen it. I still haven't seen it because I've been on the air. But here's to me what is amusing and maybe instructive. For years, I have tended to kind of mock the, shall we say, speaking skills of the Wilfs, especially Ziggy. And it's almost, in his case, Mark maybe not so much, but Ziggy, it almost seemed painful when he'd be interviewed, right? Well, the comeback to that is, do you want that guy? I mean, maybe they're more careful and more circumspect because they know that you go the other direction and you can have that sort of nonsense. Now, you could say, well, Jerry Jones is interesting because he never met a microphone he didn't like, and he actually sometimes gives good fodder. he tends to get ripped more because he's available as much as he is. But this sounded like it was a dog and pony show. And I asked Seifert the same question. If the answer he gave to the question of why did they lose is the officials blew the completion interception call, then why are you firing your coach? You obviously think there's more to it than that. So there's something very cringeworthy when an owner goes off in a way that just comes off apparently the way it did today, where it appears that nobody is particularly celebrating the approach he took.
So here's the quote. My decision to bring in a new coach was based on the results of our game in Denver. I did not fire Coach McDermott based on a bad officiating decision. By taking that locker room, I felt like we hit a proverbial playoff wall year after year, which then you just said it was because of this year's results, but whatever. I go on. 13 seconds, missed field goal, the catch. So I just sensed in the locker room, like, where do we go from here with what we have? And that was the basis for my decision. So me and Sinekin not nearly under as much scrutiny as this guy.
Well, that thankfully. Is the contrast is what I think is fascinating because, for fans who are frustrated, they might kind of like the adrenaline rushes. We plateaued out. We got to get rid of them. And by the way, you're allowed, if you're an owner, you're allowed to do it. It's your team, and you might even have a point. As crazy as it sounds, given his one-loss record. But it doesn't appear that he did a really good job of sort of defending the position he took. He came off looking worse than if he just kept his mouth shut and the team had made the announcement that McDermott was gone. And now, as you say, did you say the QB Allen has reacted to it?
That's what I thought. Now that I'm saying it out loud, maybe yet, but I thought I read that somewhere. So big grain of salt there that he was not happy with the press conference.
Okay, interesting.
In other NFL news, I saw this from Shefty that Mike McDaniel expected to become Chargers OC.
I thought it was done.
That's what I thought as well. I do want to. I'm more just. It's not that I thought it was done, but now I just want to. At the 1% chance that I missed some tweet that he ended up saying no, so then I don't get the texter saying, "How did you not miss that?" So, anyways, I think it's a good hire. I just thought he would be a head coach somewhere and not settle for an offensive coordinator spot. But it's a good spot to land when you've got a franchise quarterback and a coach that probably just wants you to run the ball the whole time anyways. That's
what's interesting. In fact, I was scrambling here. I don't think I you know what? I retweeted it. Let me find my retweet because it absolutely was classic stuff and it kind of cracked me up. What I think is interesting about the possibility of him going to the Chargers is, you want to talk about an odd couple? Jim Harbaugh and Mike McDaniel.
Yeah.
And your guy, Joey Molinaro, did a conversation between the two of them that is brilliant. It's just perfectly played, perfectly laying out the contrast between them. That doesn't seem to be like a very good fit. But what I'll tell you is, Harbaugh may have finally come to the conclusion, it's going to be my ass if we don't figure out our offense with a guy who's viewed as this all-world quarterback, and I'm going to have to take the jump. So I'm not surprised that under those survival is a very powerful instinct. And if you don't have somebody stealing the plays for you, if you don't have Connor Stallions working for you anymore, you got to find a really good, bright offensive mind, which I think he is. I don't know if he's worthy of another head coaching job, to be honest with you. You said he backed away from was it Cleveland?
The Browns.
From the Browns. Mm-hmm. So I'll be very interested to see if they do end up coming together. Because clearly the Chargers need to do something offensively at this point.
For whatever reason, I just like him. I don't know. I mean, obviously the last few seasons sucked.
He's an interesting guy too.
Yeah,
because he is different. He's cut from a very as the tweet I retweeted, the conversation with Harbaugh laid out. He's cut from a very different cloth. He's not the quintessential. Doesn't sound like the quintessential hard-ass Dan Campbell coach. Exactly right. That's true.
Lastly, I don't know how much you've been keeping up with baseball offseason, because baseball is a complete afterthought in this town. Speaking of owners that just do whatever they want, you can just cut payroll and not care. The Yankees, they're trying to get in the arms race. They signed Bellinger. They end the stalemate. It's a 5-year deal. It's worth $162.5 million. But basically, the theme of the offseason is, if you have a heartbeat, the Dodgers are going to spend hand over fist to go get you. At some point, we just have to say, I mean, do we throw up the white towel?
Yeah, no, it's been asked. It's a fair question. Well, I mean, to your point, when the New York Yankees are no longer viewed as, it's the Yankees now, all they do is spend money. The Yankees are like double A ball compared to the Dodgers. Now, they're still spending, but it's not even close. There's nobody in their stratosphere. There's no one that seems to have the access that they do. I've said before, they've maximized what hasn't always led to World Series titles, spending all the money. They've taken their advantage of all their resources and created, I think, the closest thing you can get to in 2025 as the perfect team. I mean, that's sort of where they're at right now, 2026, and we'll see what it seems to be begging for some kind of a solution, some kind of a cap of some sort in baseball, which of course is considered, fighting words with the union. But at some point, you got to believe something's got to give.
100%. There you have it.
Outstanding work on the top 5 at 5. We'll pause for the bottom of the hour break. There's a lot to get caught up on just today in the Twin Cities and nationally and internationally, involving the President of the United States and some comments he made today about Greenland and his approach there. Pat Kessler, in studio. He is coming up next.
I wish the American media would take a great look at the views of the people in Congress and find out, are they pro-America or anti-America?
Pat Kessler. Because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
I can't trust Obama. He's an Arab.
Pat Kessler.
Tear down this wall.
I did nothing wrong at the Minneapolis airport.
Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
Pat Kessler.
And now, to help Dan break down all the tough questions in politics, it's our own
Pat Kessler.
Political Wonk.
I feel like a supermodel, except like times 10.
What? It's Channel 4's
Pat Kessler.
with Dan Barreiro on the Fan.
Kessler is back. Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and better than ever after dealing with, it sounds like, all kinds of crud. Welcome back. I'm going to give you famous birthdays for today, which is my birthday, as you now know, January 21.
Happy birthday.
I'm going to name you rank these. I don't know how to rank them. This is how one website, I don't know that they did this in any particular order. Who do I share a birthday with today? Gina Davis, the actress.
Oh, nice.
Turns 70. Mm-hmm. Charlotte Ross. I don't know who that is. Do you know Charlotte Ross? She turns 58.
Nope, not familiar.
Okay. Singer Emma Bunton turns 50.
Emma Bunton.
You heard of Emma Bunton? Luke Grimes turns 42.
You're not doing so well here
today. Well, I'm working my way up. All right. Opera singer Placido Domingo, 85 today. Jill Eikenberry, a name I remember from the past, 79. Do you remember
Law and Order?
That's right. Do you remember Billy Ocean?
Oh,
Caribbean Queen.
Get out of my dream.
That's the one. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. 76. Robbie Benson.
Okay, all right.
Is 70. Did you ever see, what was the film he did when he played a college basketball player? What the hell was it called? Goes back.
Porno?
No, this was not porn. This was straight, mass distribution. And he, oh my God, it'll come to me in a minute. And the music, the soundtrack was done by Seals and Crofts. That's how ancient this stuff is. All right, here's a few more. Summer Breeze, great song. Singer Cat Power, underrated voice, 54. Thomas Stonewall Jackson, Civil War general.
Very much like you.
Christian Dior.
Yeah. Ooh.
Is the movie One-on-One?
One-on-One. Thank you. One-on-One.
Thank
you ever see it? Oh, I loved it. It's a tremendous movie.
Great movie.
Very good movie.
Never saw it.
Telly Savalas.
Okay. All right.
Benny Hill.
Those are two sexy men.
Jack Nicklaus. He's 86 today.
Mm-hmm. That was a good one.
Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen. Mm-hmm. And Hakeem Olajuwon. Former all-time
Okay, no,
great
these are
NBA
awesome.
All-Star.
These are really
I
good.
worked up, I think,
Yeah,
to the
this-
best
yeah.
ones. Early ones, I think, were a little
like
soft.
20, were they like 25 names ago?
Yeah, I
you
feel
start
like
off
that's
there.
true.
Well, I didn't know till I got here.
Yeah.
I would have brought you some Kit Kat cereal.
Usually you bring a cake.
Yeah, I do.
Charlotte Ross was on Days of Our Lives.
Okay, thank you. God, we have great listeners.
Another birthday today, my daughter Sophia. Happy birthday to Sophia.
Happy birthday, Sophia.
Yeah, one-on-one. A bunch of people are now nominating the movie. Oh, Emma Bunton is Baby Spice from the Spice Girls.
Well, you didn't know that?
I did not know that. I remember I was once at a party with Posh Spice.
My goodness.
Jimmy Jam's mansion on
for
Lake
God's
Minnetonka.
sakes.
This goes back, obviously, decades.
Excuse me, can I pick up this name that you just dropped?
Jesse Ventura was at that party.
Oh, my God.
Oh, it was big. It was, as I recall it was Jimmy Jam's, would have been his 40th birthday or 5th, whatever it was. It was like a big
you've
birthday.
been to them all. So.
Well, yeah, and
thank you for listening,
when you
Jimmy.
think of his, production work, who is the singer that you think of first? Janet Jackson,
Janet Jackson,
right?
of course.
Janet Jackson. I've told this story before. She blows in for the party, and the deal was we were told before she arrived. They said she's going to be in the kitchen area. Like we're in the kind of the living room in these huge tables having dinner.
Are they big rooms?
Fairly big rooms.
Yeah.
And the best part about it was Chad Hartman and I were at the main table. Flip Saunders was at one of the B tables.
One of the kids'
which
tables.
you can't even make up. So they warned us. They said, here's the deal. Janet's coming, but don't even think about going near the room she's in. She will wave from afar. You're not getting near her.
But don't look at her, even.
You were allowed. It's not Barbara
You can look
Streisand.
at her,
It was not Barbara Streisand.
Okay.
We were allowed to look at her. But she waved from the kitchen. She kind of waved from the kitchen to the main table, but no one was allowed to get any closer to her.
That's what I do at Thanksgiving.
That is kind of what you do.
Okay, so it's a great story. And God, those are good memories with Jimmy Jam.
They are. I still miss being. He still listens. He listens to the show all the time, which we appreciate very much. All right.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Goodness.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I got a lot of nice wishes via X, which is helpful. Not to be confused with an awful lot of early savagery. Unhappy with us booking Lou Ragoose. Think about it.
Stop it.
Lou Ragoose, one of the fine local reporters.
Always a good reporter.
Yes.
But he has turned into, over the last couple of years, one of the very best journalists in the Twin Cities.
I agree.
So come on, people. You don't have to agree with him.
Well, but all I think he does is report. And,
yes.
And what it is if you report on what I want you to report on, the stories that I care about, where the other side looks bad, I love you.
And by the way, go ahead.
No, that's it. I was just going to say.
And by the way, if it doesn't run in the newscast or on the feed that I see at that exact time, then you didn't do it.
It all depends on whose ox is being gored.
Exactly.
All right, let's get it. We got a lot to try to cover today. Let's start with limo. That's what I used to affectionately call her. Michelle Tafoya, KFAN alum.
Yes.
Channel 4 alum, right? Wasn't she at 4?
Yes, she was, and also at WCCO Radio.
WCCO Radio, exactly.
I appeared on her show for a while.
You did, that's true.
Yeah.
She is officially, or is it an unofficial or official?
No, she is official.
This is official.
Filed the papers with the Federal Elections Commission
for Senate. For the
United States Senate, for the GOP nomination for the United States Senate. And immediately, in my view, becomes the front runner for many, many different reasons. But she will be a lightning rod, and absolutely, certainly, I believe that Michelle Tafoya makes this a much, much more interesting race.
Yes.
So she has.
So if Vegas did odds, where is she? Is she first or second?
As among the Republicans?
Exactly.
Well, I would say, and I have no way of knowing this, but just my gut and looking at her career and where the Republicans are now, I would say this places her as a front runner in the Republican Party in Minnesota for the GOP nomination. Now, there may be 2 U.S. Senate seats.
That's true.
But certainly, this is for Tina Smith's U.S. Senate seat because she is retiring. It's a rare open seat. That's a big positive for Republicans. Tafoya has a pretty good name ID.
Definitely
we don't know
has
exactly what
ID
it is.
recognition.
People know who she is.
There's no question.
She was immediately endorsed by the National Republican Senate Campaign Committee.
Where does Trump come in?
Well, that's
one of
I'll
the,
get to
the
that
intriguing
in just a
questions,
moment.
correct? Yes.
So the NRCC endorses her, which is really unusual because there's 4 or 5 other candidates in Minnesota. I say, nah, you guys can just go. We're endorsing Michelle Tafoya. She is a pro-choice Republican.
Does that work?
Think about that. Well, she's going to get hammered
in terms of nomination.
for that. It's in terms of the nomination.
Yeah.
She's got to thread that needle. There's a lot of nuance to her positions. She describes herself as a pro-choice conservative with libertarian values. So, she's clear, she's outspoken. Those are all real positives for the Republicans in Minnesota and for Michelle Tafoya. But, and you mentioned this, she was a big fan of your guy, Marco Rubio. She endorsed Marco Rubio for president.
That's true.
President Trump, as we know, he mentioned it again today, he doesn't forget this kind of thing. He will not forget that.
No,
so
he never does, never has,
but
never
also,
will.
In 2024, just last year, she urged President Trump
to not run, right?
Don't run for re-election.
Yeah.
Do not run.
Isn't that the sort of thing he remembers?
He remembers that stuff. And something that is a positive for her because we kind of know her aggressive, very clear statements on policy and all of that. She has had a podcast for several years now. And so there's hundreds of podcasts that she's done. There is a treasure trove of information I think that the Democrats will start to extract and use against her. And we're starting to see it already because multiple times the Democrats are pointing out she threatened and promised and said she was moving out of Minnesota. So, I think they're going to use that. But there is one that's a little more serious that the Democrats have trotted out already today to attack her.
Wow.
And this one is that. This is what it is. She retweeted a conspiracy theory. And I don't know what you say when somebody retweets on X. Is that promoting it?
Is that endorsing? Is that promoting? Is that giving it more oxygen?
That John Hoffman, the state senator, was shot and Melissa Hortman murdered because they voted against immigrant health care in Minnesota. And that is something the Democrats are saying that she put it out there, and that is really deplorable.
Well, she'll have
that conspiracy theory.
Correct.
So we'll see
what she does
how nimble she is.
Well, let me ask you a follow-up Trump question. One of the theories I've heard advanced today is that knowing still how powerful his Republicans, they still quake in their boots around him.
Yes.
That implicitly she must already know that at the very least he's not going to stand in her way. Do you buy that theory if she goes public and says, I'm declaring I'm going for it? Or do you think she's perfectly willing to run the risk that he's going to say she's not the candidate? Because I remember what she said about me.
Well, a couple of things about that. I think that she is going forward perhaps with some assurances that he won't stand in her way. But she would do it anyway. I think I know her pretty well, and I think you do too, that she is a very strong woman, someone who is very, very clearly states what she believes and is going forward and isn't afraid to do it. So will it come back to bite her? Possibly, it absolutely. Her big struggle is going to be getting through the Minnesota Republican MAGA delegates at the State Party convention. Will she get the endorsement? I think it's real possible she won't, because your guy, Royce White, the former NBA basketball player, is running for this seat as well. And he is MAGA through and through, in the same way that Mike Lindell is. I mean, these guys are real true believers. And I don't see, although she's absolutely a believer, I don't see her as this far right-wing MAGA type.
A texter suggests that she should be running for governor rather than U.S. Senate.
Been a lot of talk about that.
What does that mean? Explain that to me.
I have actually talked to former governors and high-level Republican officials in the state who say that they had discussed this with her or people around her, because that might have been a way for her to concentrate on the state. Many of the policies, she says, that she has promoted in her campaign launch video are state issues, fraud, walls,
Yes, right.
Ilhan Omar and Somalis, all of that stuff, deportations. That could have been, but we still don't have a Democratic candidate for governor now that Walz has dropped out, and that could very well be Amy Klobuchar.
When are we going to know?
Senator. It's got to be soon.
It has to be, doesn't it?
They're going to start the caucuses.
Isn't it like early
in
February?
Month. Yeah, in a month.
Okay.
And, or less.
Or less, yeah.
So if Amy Klobuchar is going to jump in, she's usually very deliberate and very cautious.
Yes.
So what if she says, you know what? Not going to do it. It's not too late for anybody to switch parties, or switch
what you're
races.
going for. Yeah.
But I think, this is a good fit for Michelle Tafoya.
I think you've answered it too. I think if the working assumption is still that Klobuchar is going to jump in, that's going to be, I'm in the group that believes it's almost impossible to beat her.
Yeah. Who are you going to get?
So then if you're back to, if the goal is to win, then, and I'm saying, okay, what do I have a better chance to steal? I'm going to go, you know what? I think I'm going to go for the U.S. Senate rather than competing against Amy Klobuchar.
And that has happened in the state before. There were two very ambitious politicians 25 years ago running for the United States Senate.
Yes.
And Dick Cheney came in here and had a talking to both of them. Tim Pawlenty drops out of the Senate race.
Teepaw.
Runs for governor, and the rest is hysteria.
Yeah.
I mean, so
36-inch waist. I'll never forget it. Was it 34 or 36?
No, it's 37. Oh, it was 34.
I think it was 34.
And
He'd be offended by 36.
I tried to reality check it.
Did you try to put a tape measure around his?
I did.
Yeah.
He would have none of it.
That seems
at
intrusive.
The state fair.
That seems like it has a human resources violation.
Well, back in the day, you could do that. We didn't have Me Too back then.
No, we didn't. That's true. You could do
so Amy Klobuchar could jump in, and we still expect. We don't know what to expect, but all indications are that she.
Yes.
She's leaning very heavily to that. But there are some, I would not rule out the Republicans because they have a pretty good field of candidates on the Republican side. So Amy Klobuchar, always the 800-pound gorilla in the state, the record-setting vote getter in this state. But anything can happen. Kendall Qualls, Chris Mattel. You've got Linda Dameth. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head. Mike Lindell. There's a lot of very interesting candidates on the Republican side. So, I would not write any of them off yet, but Amy Klobuchar would be problematic.
So as I understand it, I think this is now official. The vice president is visiting Minnesota tomorrow.
Oh, great. That'll calm things down.
The way it's been described as he's going to meet with leaders, and then there's going to be kind of an come one, come all sort of free-for-all. I'm going to assume that it's not going to be a free-for-all.
Or come one, come all.
Or come one, come all.
Yeah.
So do we know what the parameters are going to be in terms of who he's speaking in front of and who he's going to be taking questions from in the quote-unquote community?
I am no longer on the Secret Service list for the Trump administration. So I have not received any background information. And right now, I don't believe that many reporters have. That's very unusual.
Right.
When the president, vice president come into the state, we usually have some idea of where it is, what time it is, who you're going to speak to, are you going to have a round table, who's going to be there. We usually know all that. So in my view, and I haven't looked in the last hour or so, but it's really unusual for us not to know that. In the midst of all of this, it's, why is he coming? That is my bottom line question. Very unsettling times here. Pouring gasoline on the fire with more rhetoric, whatever he's going to do. Doubling down after the killing of a protester here. I mean, is this going to calm things down? Is that the purpose of this? Or is the purpose of this to inflame? I'm just asking. That's all I'm doing.
I got into this heavily with Lou Raguse early in the program. We had a very unusual presser yesterday involving some Minnesota police chiefs alleging that in this case, ICE is violating the civil rights and racially profiling what turns out to be cops who happen to be off duty. The one anecdote I'd seen via the video is an off-duty, I think it was a woman, an off-duty cop
gets
pulled over.
Yep.
And then eventually, she tries to start recording them. The phone gets knocked away, and then they leave. Not the pushback I got earlier when I talked with Lou about it was, well, okay, that's what they're alleging. In this town, when cops allege stuff, we used to be very suspicious of when cops allege stuff. So why are we required now to take this at face value? My comeback to that would be, you don't have to. It would seem counterintuitive to me that law enforcement as a group would feel, well, we have so many examples of this. We've all had this common experience that has been told to us by individuals who work for us. We feel like we needed, as uncomfortable as the main guy was yesterday in the presser, that we need to come forward to make the point that if this is happening to, in this case, individuals who are in law enforcement, what the hell does this tell us about what we believe is going on when they're not law enforcement? It shouldn't matter whether they work for the police or not. So what do you say to those who say, well, give me more. Let's do the follow-up reporting to be sure that what is being alleged is accurate? There
are many instances, reports to police of possible constitutional violations. It's happening everywhere. The city is under siege with these kind of reportings. I want to be very clear. The Minnesota police chiefs who held a press conference yesterday with other officers there are saying that ICE is violating civil rights in the Twin Cities, racially profiling Minnesotans before detaining them, and they are causing chaos and fear. They don't say that kind of thing without having evidence, and it's very powerful to see them saying it. Now, we have breaking news late this afternoon where a court has lifted the injunction against ICE. Said when there was a temporary injunction to stop them from bear spraying
some of the tactics,
and pepper bullets and pulling people out of cars. Well, if I understand this correctly, that injunction is lifted, so now you can do it again. So let's see where this goes over the next couple of days. But what I want to say is that the police officers that I talked to, and Dan, I talked to many police officers. I work with police officers. I've done it for years, talking to them in classes about ethics, about civil rights, about the media, all of this kind of thing. And many of them, the ones that I've been speaking to, they're horrified by what's happening. You think about what's happening here in Minnesota. We're a small town in Minneapolis of 450,000 people, and we have 600 officers and 3,000
and growing
ICE officers. This is not Chicago where there's 5 million people and 1,000 officers. This is something completely different here. And the cops know it.
Let me give you an example of where it's probably a battle not worth fighting, but we just got this text. You're so biased. Why is it so hard for you in Kessler to see that the federal government is following federal law? If I remember, it is unlawful to sneak into this country. Now, we can argue about the parameters of that.
What's criminal, what's civil. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
But what does that have to do with what was being alleged by these police chiefs yesterday? Zero. Nothing. There's nothing targeted about that. That's, hey, you know what?
I heard you speaking with a Mexican accent.
Well, I don't even want to get into that.
Okay, let's talk.
How many videos have we seen? I saw one in particular that it was stunning, where a man speaking with what might be a Mexican or Spanish accent, okay, is under siege. And he says finally to the ICE officer, "Why are you stopping me?" And he says it because of the way you're speaking, the accent I pick up. And here's the irony. The individual saying that, as the alleged victim here suggests, also had the same accent and even said, wait a minute, why are we not checking your assets, your papers? You sound exactly like I do. Which I don't want to go too far down that road.
It's a good question that the listener is texting us. But it is so beside the point what we're talking about here. Yes, if you come into the United States illegally, that is a civil penalty crime. Absolutely. And you should be rounded up or not rounded up. I shouldn't say it that way. You should be cited for that and go through the proceedings and do whatever.
You're right.
Go through the process. If you are a criminal, a violent criminal, rape, murder, whatever, absolutely get rid of them. This is what President Obama did and deported 3 million people very quietly. What we have here in Minnesota is an extraordinary escalation of chaos and fear with masked, heavily armed, no identification, unmarked vehicles, no warrants, no lawyers.
And there is no other place
no due process
in America where there's this concentration of agents.
Nowhere. And this is a record.
Especially when you factor in the size of the state.
The detainees are disappeared.
Yes.
We don't know where they went.
Might go to El Paso. They might go to a different spot.
I'm just telling you, this is different, and I take seriously.
There's no precision in it.
It's a question that people are asking. And
I know.
I'm glad our listeners
I
asked.
get it all the time.
But that's why.
Yeah.
I'm all of the righties back in the day who said, don't, carrying the flags, don't tread on me. They're treading on you. They're treading on you.
It's the great irony.
That's the thing.
And this is another text we get a lot of about the number of illegals who've committed crimes, who have been taken off the street. There's nothing. I've said it for months, certainly weeks, maybe months. I don't think there's many people. There's some. There's the abolish ICE idiots who I have no time for, no respect for. By the way, politically, it's a loser proposition if you go down that road. But there's never been any question for me of those who've committed crimes being taken off the street. The question is what is the percentage? We know what we're told, but the net that has been cast is all about the directive from Stephen Miller saying what? We want to get, was it 3,000 a day? Per day. And once that parameter was established, it was, hey, we'll worry about it later. We're probably going to make some mistakes and sweep some people up, but we got to make the quota. And that's, to me, if you go back to the beginning, that's the start that has contributed to why we're in the madness we're in. I need to break. Top of the hour break. I want to also get to another story that's on your list having to do with the demonstrations at the church. Was that in St. Paul? I want to get to that as well, strategically and other ways. So there's a lot more ground to cover. More with Special K, Pat Kessler, part 2, when we come back.
The one and only Monster Jam rolls back into U.S. Bank Stadium February 7th and 8th, and we've got your tickets in. Check out our contest page, KFAN.com. Keyword contest, so you could win a family 4-pack of tickets to the February 7th show, Monster Jam. KFAN.com, keyword contest.
The president is it Davos? The economic Davos. Is that the economic forum?
It is.
You want to talk about posh and Tony? I mean, you want to talk about beautiful people? That place is supposed to be unbelievable. Now, you've been to Switzerland. I never have. Haven't you? I thought you'd been to
just
Switzerland.
A few weeks ago.
That's what I thought. I don't know if you've been to Davos, but he speaks, and the headline, it was like an hour and 10, all over the map, like often the case with him, but the headline was, he's now saying, we're going to get what we want, or I'm going to get what I want on Greenland, but we are not going to invade. Is that correct?
Yeah, and my head is spinning here. I mean, the speech today, an hour and 10 minutes, that was alternately insulting, bombastic, rambling, really kind of an unsettling speech for the President of the United States, saying that he would not use violence or military force to take over Greenland, something he has been specifically threatening for several weeks now. For what reason, nobody can quite figure out. But late this afternoon, the president says, and the administration says, that they have reached a framework of a deal. And so suddenly he is going to drop all of the tariffs that he threatened to put on just a few days ago. So once again, walking it back. So there are no tariffs on Europe now that he was going to put on in just a few days. And there is some sort of a framework. Now, we don't know what it is, but Denmark and Greenland have said to the United States that you can have military bases, whatever you want. Have some more. You can have mineral rights. You can't have ownership. But as I'm seeing some of the details pouring out right now, the New York Times is reporting that there will be some sort of negotiation in which the United States will have sovereignty over very small pockets of Greenlandic land where the United States could build military bases. I mean, I think we already have that, but this is one of the things that everybody needed an off-ramp because we are about to see the disintegration of NATO and all of the security guarantees.
Which has served us pretty well for a long time.
Since your guy Eisenhower,
right?
Yeah. I mean, anyway, another crisis averted, but the question I have is, why did we have to go through this?
You know why.
And then meanwhile, while he is in giving his speech, by the way, and then a press conference in Davos, Switzerland, Minnesota's living rent-free in his mind.
Correct.
And he's talking again in Switzerland to NATO and the economic summit.
He won 3 elections.
And by the way, he did not win 3 elections. He lost all 3. But he's talking about the Somali fraud to all of the people in his speech in Davos and about, hey, those Somalis may be smarter than we thought, that kind of thing. And he said that. So I don't know, Dan. It's discouraging in some ways. So crisis averted. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's talk about the demonstration that took place. It was I don't remember the name of the church. This was in St. Paul, correct?
It's on Summit Avenue and Snelling in St. Paul, Minnesota. It is a more evangelical Baptist type church, and anti-ICE protesters broke in during Sunday service. Now, a couple of people were notified and got notice of this ahead of time, like your guy Don Lemon, who went in there. Now, I don't know what you think about it. You and I have not talked about this. I find it really troubling. I find it very troubling. First of all, let's talk about why the protesters went in. They say it is because one of the pastors of the church serves as the acting director. He's a pastor of the church, but also the acting director of the U.S. ICE Enforcement Field Office in St. Paul, Minnesota. My question, I go to church, every Christmas, every few years, how does that work? How does the pastor of a church also be head of an ICE office? I still haven't heard a really good explanation about that. If true, I'd love for our listeners, if you know, tell me.
Well, no, I would say I don't know, but why can't he? What would be?
Well, if my pastor of the Catholic Church, why is it not a full-time job?
I don't know. I don't know that it isn't, but I don't know that it is. And it sounds like he's not one of the main pastors. I don't know. Well, I'll ask you this. There should be more reporting on it, and there hasn't been.
Let's flip that script.
Right.
Let's say he is the head of the ICE office in St. Paul, Minnesota. Right. What does a man of God do when you have ICE agents breaking down doors, pulling pregnant women out of cars, stopping people because of the way they look? How does that comport with what Jesus taught us?
Well,
that's the question.
It's the question.
That's why they went in. I totally disagree with them going in to a house of worship. Should never have happened, in my view, in my humble opinion.
Well, that's my problem. I don't think it matters how he balances it. I don't. I honestly don't. I don't think that's. I don't know. I need to know a lot more about what he does.
And why don't we?
Well, that would be ask the reporters that. I don't know that we've had enough vetting on that beyond there. I would say, for me, strategically, it's you lose the high ground when, in this case, you end up maybe even scaring individuals who are there to worship, who may or may not know what he does or what else he could do. I don't like the look at all. I think strategically it's stupid because I think you have the high ground. But when you go down that particular road, I think you lose some of that. In fact, one of the principals in it, I saw in an interview on News Nation, and they just asked the question, an absolutely fair question. Is this a step too far in voicing your frustrations and your problems with what the approach that ICE has taken? And the answer that the individual gave back was, you're not going to gaslight me on this. You're not. That's not the question. The question is why ICE is involved in the tactics that they are. The problem for me with that answer is media every day asks that question a million times on 9, on 11, on 4, Star Tribune. So the notion that you're not spending enough time examining how over the line the tactics are, that's being discussed and reported every day.
That's ridiculous.
You can still be answer. You got to have a better answer to the question. Then I'm not going to let you take it this way. That's gaslighting. It's not gaslighting. It's a perfectly legitimate question. By the way, you can also think that it is proper to go in there. We can debate that question, but the idea that there was something unfair or insulting about the question is nonsense as far as I'm concerned.
We'll talk about this many, many days in the coming months. But this story in Minnesota with ICE and all of the chaos and the killings and the beatings, that has captured the imagination of the globe. More people are aware of this than almost any other story in America. So that's not a good excuse to me. A sanctuary of a church is a sanctuary.
It should be, I think.
From the Middle Ages, back in the day when, in the Middle Ages, where if you were running away from authorities, you could go into a church and stand there in the sanctuary, and they were not permitted to come near you. That's the idea of sanctuary. We still have refugees in Minnesota who go to some of the great churches here in sanctuary and live there and the authorities don't get them. Politically, strategically, I think the protesters in general here have been kind of winning the PR battle,
100%.
if I can say that. And I think this was a real step back.
Again, it's not.
You can protest
the whole
outside,
story.
can't you?
You can do it a lot of different ways.
At a church.
And I can still debate it, but I think strategically it's a big mistake. And on what I need to know more about. Okay, well, what exactly is his job? Have any reporters had a chance to try to talk to him and give him a chance to quote unquote explain himself? I don't have any of that. I don't even know.
Yeah, they won't let anybody near him in ICE.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, the officials in the Justice Department and DHS are saying, don't say his name. Do not say his name.
Well, his name's already out, correct?
I know it is, of course.
Yeah,
but thank you for not saying his name. We're going to dox it. That kind of thing. It's all silly everywhere.
All right, we're late. We got to go.
All right,
thanks I'm glad you're well. I'm glad you're better. Whew. You seem better.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, it's a very tough stretch across the board. We'll talk next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Pat Kessler, 5, 6, and 10 o'clock. We'll come back to wrap up a very controversial show next.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
It's brought to you by American Pressure.
All right, it is that time again. I want to thank several outstanding guests today. Kevin Seifert in studio between 3:30 and 4:30. Lou Goose joined between 3:15 and 3:30 as well, who's been covering a lot of these stories that we touched on with Kessler in the field. Kessler joined at 5:30, and as often the case, we had some people who were delighted and some people who were incensed, which is sort of the nature of where we're at. And so the decision every day is, do we just avoid stuff, knowing there's a chance we're going to alienate 50% or thereabouts of the audience? I got to do what I got to do. And hopefully you hang for the ride. If you have to make other decisions, Godspeed in that too. It is the great thing about America. You can make any decision you want. What I will categorically reject, and I will never pretend, is that if you come to me today, as one texter did, and say, I don't turn to KFAN to listen to politics, and I've been listening to you for 20 years, I'm left with a bit of puzzlement on my face, because if you, in fact, have listened to this show for 20 years, you cannot possibly be surprised that we talk, among other things, politics. You may disagree, and you may say, and this is where I think I wish people would be forthright. What often you're telling me isn't that you're annoyed with the political discussion, is that you don't agree with what the host has to say. That's fair game. It always has been fair game. It's something that has been part of the story here forever and ever. But you cannot possibly have listened to this show for 20 years and come away going, oh, God, I thought this was a sports station. That's the part that is just, it's utter nonsense. It's just a disconnect. So we'll have to agree to disagree if you pretend you've been listening for that long and somehow you're gobsmacked that the day you turned it on, you didn't like it. What's the problem? Breaking news?
.com Tom. Vikings have signed defensive coordinator Brian Flores to a new contract.
Oh, that's huge.
Flores is still a candidate with Steelers and Ravens head coaching jobs, but he doesn't land one of those. He'll stay in Minnesota.
That's good news. That's really good news. And it's contrary to what I was beginning to wonder, because as we pointed out with Seifert, Seifert reminded us he'd already interviewed for the defensive coordinator job in Washington. And you assume that if you open that door, right? If you open that door at all, that must mean you're willing to go someplace else. But maybe that was part of the negotiating tactics. Maybe he got an extra $1 million. Who knows? But the Vikings at least can say, we have done everything in our power to protect ourselves, to keep him here as a coordinator if he does not get one of the head coaching jobs. And now they have to, I guess, selfishly hope and pray that he doesn't get it. I'm sure they would say, we're not going to do that. We want him to have the best opportunity. But I'm glad you interrupted me for that news. That is massive and very, very important news as well. Thanks for watching today. Thank you indeed for listening. Tomorrow is what, Thursday? I think Guardsy's back tomorrow. We're at the Cage. Target Center will be doing our show from our Wolves location with several outstanding guests as well. And what's coming up next? Fan on Demand on the air?
Fan on Demand, a Mace in Your Face into Wild Weekly.
Oh, even better. Sounds like a heck of a night. We'll talk to you tomorrow during the Cold Nami beginning at 3.